Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. Today is episode number 32 of our daily update with Sridhar Chityala. Chityala ji, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskar and good morning to you, sir, and good morning to everybody on a bright, cold, wintry morning in New York.
Yes, it is 46 degrees here and it's really cold in Northern California also. We have a lot of things that are happening around the globe. Let's start with what is happening in the United States. Sir, the numbers, the projections of who is winning is still only a media call. It has not been officially certified in several states. Where do things stand as far as the U.S. presidential election are concerned, sir?
The U.S., as far as the U.S. presidential election is concerned, right now the declared results. I use the word declared results is 290 to Mr. Biden and 232 to President Trump. These are declared results. Then there's a process. Then there is Georgia is under recount. Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Nevada is under legal challenge for a range of kind of issues. That's expected to be accelerated this particular week with more data and evidence, having collected the affidavit from various people. But they also had other forms of discoveries, which will form the basis for the what you call as contesting the elections in these states. So there is a process. The process is that each of the state secretaries have to certify the results. And they have time till November 30th. And then once the results are certified, they become official in terms of who has been the selected winner from the given state. And then it goes to House and Senate by December 14th, gets discussed, officially endorsed. Then the president, the past president, or if the president continues, it's great. If the president is a new one, the new one is welcomed. So there's a transition process that happens from that point to January 20th, which is the swearing in, and the new regime takes place. In normal circumstances, when the results are accepted by both the parties, the contender as well as the incumbent or the present, then when it is accepted, then you have a smooth transition. One concedes defeat, makes a concession speech, and we are not there. So in the absence of this concession, where the media is, projecting, get out, Mr. Trump, Mr. Biden, allow him to take over. Trump is saying media is not the person who certifies the results. Okay, they have a job, right? Let them do the job. There is a process in the United States, a constitutional process in the United States. There's a constitutional remedy, right? For me to address my issues. Plus, I have received 72 million votes. Mr. Biden has 74 million. So I have an accountability and responsibility to 72 million people who have voted for me, that the process has been transparent and the counting has been very genuine, and which is acceptable in terms for me to take back the message I concede defeat or I concede victory, are willing to contest. So we are caught in this middle of the ground land where the process is not in place. Everybody is jumping to the conclusion, and much of the issues is stemming as a result of that.
Sir, one of the things we noticed was leading up to the elections and even after that, we are suddenly hearing a lot from the former president of United States, Barack Obama. Yet we have the situation where there are 5 or 6 living ex-US presidents, and none of them have weighed in on this election except for Mr. Obama. The optics seems a little strange, and I'm wondering, what is it that Mr. Obama accomplished, or was he afraid that the Democrats would lose if he did not come and stump for Mr. Biden? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that let me just make one observation. George Bush Jr., he did make his comment, which is President Trump should concede and move forward, and then just left it at that. Whereas Obama has come in, and there's basically 2 specific issues that we are saying, right? One issue that we are saying is he was part of the campaign. He was formally part of the campaign, which is, and now he has extended that, and he has a book release, and that book release, there was an interview in CBS, where it's gone to the extent of, I believe, crossing the boundary, which is almost to kind of preaching. Firstly and foremost, when he transitioned to Trump, he was not very kind of, you can see the statements. I don't need to kind of give an expansion around it. Whether he should step in and weigh in with much more what I call explicit comments is counterproductive. On one side, Biden says it's not blue or red, it's United States. But then in comes Obama and talks about, oh, it's the conservative base which is acting irrationally in terms of integration, not considering the result, and so on. Now, certainly that is not uniting the two. And I don't know, I mean, Obama also, when he launched his Affordable Care Act, it was one of the most divisive acts that was ever kind of launched. And they kept the platform as a platform which is supposed to have been the what you call the showman or the showpiece of Obama presidency. Not one Republican voted for either in the House or in the Senate when Affordable Care Act was passed. It was the most divisive act, yet that is the beachhead of the Democratic platform. So I may sound like propagating, but the facts speak for themselves. So my suggestion for people like for the former president is allow the two people to play out and let them kind of figure out a way by which there will be a power transition, whether it goes one way or the other way, it doesn't matter. They will shake hands, they debated, the thing goes on. Allow them to play it out rather than towing the line of the media and aggravating the issue.
Well, if Michelle Obama ever ends up running for either Senate or for president, you heard it here first that we are making a projection that in the near future you're going to see more of Mrs. Obama. Let's see how it plays out. It's just a projection. We don't have any facts to back it up, but we are just making a projection. Next, sir, on Georgia Senate races, 2 Senate seats, both are very, very tightly fought right now, and a lot of stuff happening. One set of Senate contestants are not wanting to do a debate. What is happening in Georgia, sir?
Georgia has become the next mini presidential race. If between North Carolina for unseating Senator Graham and in Kentucky unseating Mitch McConnell resulted in $160 million of money, capital going in, with outcome proving to be otherwise, the ROI on that is close to zero because the expected outcome was not accomplished. So you're going to see something of that ilk, money being poured into Georgia to win at least one of those, if not both of those seats by the Democrats, because without that, they recognize that the Senate will not be in their control. So it's going to be a very acrimonious kind of race. Already you can see within Democratic Party, there is this issue between socialism versus centralism kind of debate. And then, of course, the Republicans are raising their flag, which is to state this is the last bastion in the event of, currently as things stand, President Trump has lost and Biden has won as things stand, right? So this could change. So Senate becomes their kind of a pivot in terms of making sure that all the good programs that was put in place, like, tax cuts and so on, are not rolled back. So Senate is now the effective controlling bloc. So you may not see more debates and so on because it's very clear. This is about holding on to the programs that was launched that resulted in a successful outcome in the past 4 years, which Democrats will contest. And then the Democrats saying, no, we need it because for us to implement the full programs, which is energy, right to work, normalization of immigration for 12 million people, 12 million unregistered citizens, etc., we need the Senate. Otherwise, our moves are going to be blocked. So I don't see this to be very smooth. It's going to be very contentious. Given that 50 seats, the possibility of the Republicans holding and winning 1 out of 2 is pretty high.
We'll see how that plays out. Let's take a quick look at Erdogan's politics, and then we need to move on to economy, market, and tech. Just 1 minute, sir, on Erdogan. What I'm hearing is that Armenians are actually vacating some portions of the NK area, and as they are vacating, they are actually setting fire to their homes, their ancestral homes that they have occupied for hundreds of years. It looks like a very asymmetric conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia, and it happened because of Turkey arming another Islamic country, Azerbaijan. What are your thoughts, are, and then we can move on to economy.
Well, I think that there are two things that Erdogan has got his hand in terms of the most current news. One is, as you say, Azerbaijan, Armenia in the Nagorno-Karabakh kind of areas. So the story is that they have decided to vacate. The Armenians decided to vacate, which they have occupied the 7 districts. So you're beginning to the natural outcome is always these separations or reparations are never peaceful. So what you're seeing is the natural outcome, which is when I go, I destroy everything, and I leave. I'm not going to leave anything behind. So that's the outcome of it's an ethnic conflict, right? So this is a continuing issue of these border skirmishes, and it's like old scores being settled. There's also another issue. He was this weekend, Mr. Erdogan was in northern Cyprus, and northern Cyprus is occupied since 1974 by Turks, whereas the South Cyprus is more Greek, part of the EU. So there's been this constant skirmishes, and there's been progressive attempts to unite Cyprus under as a one single nation. Whereas Erdogan goes in and makes the statement, hey, they should maintain the two separate countries to, again, as you rightly said, preserving one ethnic status to be preserved versus integrating as one single nation. So, the trouble brews whenever you have these types of what you call ethnographic, it's not demographic, it's ethnographic divide, which divides the countries.
Well, let's take a quick look at economics. And India has come out with a stimulus package of about $35 billion that is supposed to promote jobs and also increase demand. To me, whenever somebody says that a stimulus package will increase demand, that means something similar to the PPP, Payment Protection Plan, that happened in the United States. I'm wondering what kind of a demand stimulus the new package unveiled by Nirmala Sitharaman, the finance minister, is going to mean, sir. Any thoughts on that?
Well, taking a glance from a higher, 300,000, 100,000 feet or 300,000 feet point of view, is that the stimulus seems to somebody from the United States, the stimulus seems to reflect some of the components of the program, which was extremely successful in the United States. It's very specific, very direct, and very targeted. The demand is stimulated in one of two ways. One, you give money into the hands of the people who need money to manage their lives. I think that Mr. Modi has and Madam Sitaraman seems to have done that, again, targeted at that rural population and so on, and subsidies given because agriculture seems to be has grown tremendously during this period of pandemic. So you see, fertilizer subsidies, direct payments into the rural households. So that basically increases continued sustenance of the demand side because they're buying. On the other side, which is employment, is also very critical, and the compensation substitution is very critical if people have to go out and spend. So you mentioned PPE. They seem to have directed the program at their small scale industry. They seems to have hawkers, hawkers. And people who kind of underprivileged who work by wayside. Who do what you basically hawkers would be the more appropriate, as well as the small scale, as well as the mid corporates, where there's not only the compensation augmentation, but they seem to have linked it to jobs, which is some certain amount of jobs to be created and preserved for those who avail the specific scheme. But also, I think this comes on the back of the new Modi mantra or Modi model, which is the PLI, which is planned program linked incentive. He's trying to tackle two things with that. One, he's trying to tackle what he calls as the fair trade rather than free trade. Fair trade is a model where you give something to the industry for you to come and set up your shop here, and then for you as a reciprocal gesture, I am giving you this, incentive on capital, incentive on tax, augmentation of resources. So the PLI program, they were very successful with their mobile initiative to bring mobile manufacturing into India, because India is the second largest mobile consumer. Very soon, probably be the second largest manufacturer of mobile, if it is not already. They are trying to extend that to 10 industries. So all this seems to augur very well for India in the medium to long term, in terms of, to answer your question, supply and demand being resident within the country.
Sir, let's take a quick look at markets and technology. We are running a little behind today. On the markets, today the markets are up based on the enthusiasm that a new company, Moderna, also has announced a vaccine with a 92% success rate. What can you share about that, sir, and how do you see the markets playing out today?
Yeah, Moderna is 94.5.
Oh, 94. I stand corrected.
4.5%. So the markets, which were about overnight about 200 points up, suddenly is up 500 points. At one point when I looked at it, it was 540 points at 1.84. Then I looked just before I got onto the show, it had just come down just below 500. So the point is that S&P is showing very positive territory movement. Dow is showing very positive territory movement. S&P is already at 3,640. The number that was projected was 3,600, roughly around that number by end of the year. So all this augurs very well. If you take a look at the markets, there's two drivers for the markets. One is the vaccine, which will give confidence to the markets that the economy will harmonize. The second is the stimulus, right? So these were the two kind of. So clearly, the what you call project Wartburg, which was launched. You have now Pfizer, you have BioNTech, you have Moderna, you have Eli Lilly, you have Johnson & Johnson. So you have a number of companies now announcing their vaccines availability and the success of the field trials. This all augurs very well. And Trump has been very emphatic that media does not give him due credit, that he had indicated by November there would be a vaccine and they would start rolling it out in December. So some of the money, for example, Pfizer was paid $1.95 billion for pre-ordering of 100 million vaccine serum modules. So you are beginning to see the effect of what you call as the focused effort with the biotech companies to produce a vaccine that will combat this. And having said that, the world is today at 55 million people, in terms of 55 million people infected, total 55 million people kind of infected. And, we have about 15 million active cases, and 38 million people have recovered. No, though India is the number 2 country by virtue of the number of people infected, which is close to 8.48 million people, it has had a tremendous success in terms of the recovery rate of 8.25 million recovering, and only 467,000 active cases. So it's quite a remarkable kind of progress when you look at India. On the US side, 11.36 million people have been infected, and we have had 251 deaths. And even in the United States, we have had 6.92 million recovery, and then close to 4.18 million being active. So the fact is that one of the questions that was mentioned by President Trump in his criticism of India was much testing was not done. Now, India is doing more testing than any other kind of nation in the world. So really, I think in that biotech pharma sector, India really has demonstrated to the world that it is capable of, given a chance, growing from within. The point that I'm trying to bring the coronavirus to the markets is, if that's an indicator, India is one of the top 5 economies in the world by virtue of nominal GDP, and the third largest by PPP. Well, then that means if the top 5 economies, Japan has contained it quite well. Taiwan and Korea and some of the ASEAN countries have done well. Much of the problem seems to be in Europe. Europe is in a shutdown. So the economic recovery with the advent of a vaccine, with Asia moving reasonably forward in tackling this, United States, the largest economy, ready with the vaccine, and Europe soon to follow. The markets are saying, okay, I think we have one thing going in our favor. And I mean, I know we are 4 minutes past time. The stimulus part of it is still a question mark, particularly in the United States. Asian
Thank,
countries seem to be well on the way.
Thank you, sir. And lastly on tech, I'm just going to wrap this up because we are way out beyond our time. On tech, there are alternatives emerging for Facebook and WhatsApp and Twitter. And stay tuned. There is a new app called Parler that seems to be registering a lot of new people. And then Telegram has been growing, Signal, and PGurus also is going to be introducing something of our own. Stay tuned. We will share all the details with you. This is going to be something of a groundbreaker, especially for a multilingual country such as India. So as always, thank you very much, Sridharji, and I will see you again tomorrow, and we'll be having your news capsule for tomorrow. Namaskar.
Thank you, Namaskar, and sorry for the 5 minutes overrun.
No problem, sir. It's always a pleasure to have you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.